We are live.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, Libby. How are you?
Hey there. I'm good. I'm cold. It's cold in Louisiana. We
It's
got
co-
snow.
is
It's not
that
supposed to
unusual?
happen here. It's not, it's illegal.
It's
Doesn't happen
illegal.
in
I
uh,
saw a friend just sent me pictures from Houston, Texas, and it's palm trees, snow-covered palm trees.
Yep, that's what we have too. Yeah, we've got all of our sago palms are very sad right now. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
unbelievable. It's so odd. But anyway, well, it's cold here too, but it's New Jersey. So January in New Jersey, I can't really, have too
Yes.
much to complain about that because that is what it is. But thank you for coming on, and thank you everyone who's going to click on this at some point, whether you listen to us live right now or whether you watch the replay. Libby and I wanted to connect with you and talk about, something that I think is really important for a lot of women. This is really like a women's topic around nurturing yourself, finding yourself again once you've done giving all of your energy to your children and outputting out there everything that you do for nurturing others. So we wanted to talk about the opportunity for a second spring in life. Second spring meaning another time to really bloom, to be blooming in your life, and that time is pre menopause, menopause, postmenopause, right in that sort of time frame area. So if you're joining us, please say hello. Hi, Desiree said hello already. This is
Hi,
streaming in
Desiree.
about yeah, this is streaming in about 6 different places, so we can't see all of the comments at once, but we will check back later. And if you're just coming across it and wherever your feed is and you don't know who we are, my name is Linda Downey and I am a transformational health coach, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I've been in health and wellness for 40 years, over 40 years, with a commitment to living my best life. And that was really challenged with my own health. I had a lot of health issues for decades, starting in my 20s through my 30s, 40s, definitely even maybe up into my early 50s. And I'm 60 now. So it took years of learning and growing and trying out things and figuring out, what were the best tools. So that's who I am, and that's what I do now with my clients. And this is my dear friend and colleague Libby. So I'll let her introduce herself to you.
Oh, I'm Libby Wright, and I wear many, many hats, just like many of you other ladies. And I've been a homeschool mom for well over 25 years, finishing my last year doing that this year. I also work with functional medicine practitioners who want to or traditional medical practitioners who want to transition into a more functional model, and patients who have been kind of told that they don't really have a lot of hope and there are not a lot of answers for them. Like Linda, I struggled for decades, most of my life, with weird and rare health issues, kind of mysterious health things going on. And I think what I love about this time that when Linda and I get the opportunity to really sit and chat with each other, it just comes from a really authentic place for us. So we had a slightly different take on this topic that we were planning on. But as we were both talking today, just before we jumped on this broadcast, we realized that we needed to take a slightly different turn because we are both experiencing something in our lives right now. And we recognize that this is something that would probably resonate with y'all. So we are switching gears just a little bit. We are talking about second spring, but we're talking about the fact that, well, how would you best frame what we're talking about, Linda? Maybe you have a better way of saying
Yeah,
it.
sure. Well, first, let me define second spring, because if you're
Yes.
like, what is that? That is what I put as the title when I created this event. And second spring is actually a Tao from the Chinese philosophy, from the Tao book and Chinese medicine. It's the concept that women come into a second spring, come into a whole nother opportunity, sometimes or most of the time, even deeper than your first time around as a younger woman when you're in your 20s, an opportunity to deeply connect to yourself, to nourish yourself, to take the energy that you've been giving outward to the people in your lives, to raising children. Producing and raising children is a huge energetic draw for women. And then all of a sudden the children are grown, and I think it's often, particularly in this Western culture, like, okay, who am I? What's going on with my body? When we look at menopause and hormones, what's going on in my life? How do I feel about myself? And that encompasses everything from how authentically am I living true to myself? How well do I know myself? Sexuality, how has that been impacted? Over the years, have I allowed myself to stay connected, or have we drifted apart? And it's just an opportunity to really look and create something wonderful, a beautiful second spring. So that's the concept. And we're actually working on, and we'll be launching in the spring, a program about that we are going to work with whoever wants to take that on, if that speaks to where you're at in your life. So that's that. And then to answer Libby, your question, what we thought about before we hit the live button is, so what we were acknowledging for both of us is that we have a lot going on, right? Like there's just a lot there. It feels like we're managing a lot. We've got some balls in the air. And there was a time in my past when I would have ignored that and said, okay, well, it doesn't matter. Keep pushing forward, or I can do it. I'll just figure it out, even if it means I'll make myself exhausted, because I would have had a meaning about myself if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we decided we wanted to talk about tonight was, where do you push through when it would serve you better to lean out a little bit? Where do you make yourself wrong in the way that you think you're showing up, or what you think you should be showing up as, who you're supposed to be?
Yeah.
So, Libby, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we often, especially as younger women, tie productivity to purpose,
Mm,
productivity to being powerful or to mattering. That's especially true, I think. I mean, when you have littles running around and you're caring for them, and every day is another journey and exhaustion, right? I mean, when you have little ones, you kind of have to push through. There's not really another option because, like, I mean, the baby needs to be fed every so often, needs to be diapered, it needs to be interacted with and cared for, and that's one season of life. And what I've found is, like, in this season of my life, what I'm learning is the power of the pause, the power of just stepping back and saying, okay, wait, why am I doing this? Like, why am I pushing? Because sometimes when I just pause and reflect and like work smarter, not harder, I actually get a lot more done, and I feel better.
yeah,
Because, I mean, you can only push through for so many years and so many times before it's just like, this is exhausting. Why am I doing this again?
yeah,
And you just wear yourself out. And so I think, first of all, there's no judgment if you have to push through. There are many times in both Linda's life and my life where we've had to. There was not an option. There was no backup coming. There was no one coming. I remember when I had a newborn, my first baby. He was colicky. My parents lived out of the country. Like, there was, my husband was in med school. We were exhausted, like totally exhausted. And I remember I was sitting there rocking him and bouncing him, and he's screaming his head off for the 100th day in a row or whatever it was. And I remember, because I had been a nanny before I had him, and I was like, I looked at the clock, and it was like 4:55, and this, like, it was not even a conscious thought. It came to me, and it's like, oh, don't worry, Libby, his parents will be here soon. And
oh
then I
God,
realized I was the parent. No one was coming, and I started crying harder than the baby because I was
um,
so exhausted, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I'm so tired. And so there's times like that, we have to push through. I mean, that baby was depending on me. There was the cavalry was not coming. I was it.
yeah,
But sometimes that becomes a habit for us.
yeah,
And even when we don't have to, we think we have to. And
yeah,
we think that because it feels normal, we should do it. But just
yes,
because it feels normal, that just means it's a habit. It
yeah,
doesn't mean it's right or the truth. And stepping back and saying, okay, wait, why am I doing, like we were talking about, okay, when should we start second spring? And we've been kind of pushing a little bit, like, okay, let's do this, because Linda and I are both ambitious people and we love to help people. And as we were talking before we got on this, we're like, well, wait a second. We both have some really unique things going on right now that are only a few weeks more. Why are we pushing? Is there some reason we need to? Like, is this logical or is this just a habit? And
Yeah,
the conclusion we came to was, well, wow, it'd actually be a lot smarter for us to just give it a little bit more time. And
yeah,
oftentimes we don't just take a breath and go, oh, wait a second. What do I need to do different? So there's power in that.
yeah. There's a tremendous amount of power. Desiree commented, "One mode only, full speed ahead," and that's definitely what Libby was talking about, right? Like full speed ahead. I just have to keep going. And why does that happen? Yes, one piece of that is there is no one else, as Libby just, described, and we can probably all relate to some version of that. Another thing is what you believe you're supposed to look like or show up as. So we have different beliefs about I have to always show up as the best version of myself, which means the hardest working version for some people. Maybe you have a belief of if I don't do it all, it means I'm not good enough. Maybe you have a belief of this is what makes me worthy when I keep juggling and have a lot of balls in the air and I keep them going. Just look and see what might be some of your beliefs. Last night on a group coaching call for a different program, one of my clients was saying how she didn't come to a call recently because she was so stressed and overwhelmed. She knew she wouldn't show up good on the call, so she didn't come. And this is a program about stress and overwhelm that she's participating in. So I said, you know, when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, that's actually the time to go, oh, thank God I have this call tonight. But her belief was if I can't show up happy and great, I shouldn't go to the call. Right. So that stopped her from actually getting what she needed, which was some movement through the stress and the overwhelm. So that's what can happen is your beliefs will have you make choices, take things on, and it's actually not what would serve you the best. So like as Libby said before, like hitting the pause and taking a breath. One thing that I learned, I do like to meditate, and I practice meditating regularly. It doesn't have to be for hours. Maybe it's 10, 15 minutes. Maybe sometimes it's longer, depending on what I have. But I used to be in the headspace of I don't have time to meditate. Like, oh, I can't go do that because I have to do this, and this. And what I saw was when I'm feeling I have to do this, and this, that's the most important time that I should take 15 minutes out and meditate, because that 15 minutes is going to have me show up better, have me come back with a different perspective, have me problem solve better, give me my energy back. So the very thing that I thought would detract from my productivity and my success was the thing that would make it be improved and bring a better version of me. So that's what, I don't know if you're listening or if you watch later, can anybody relate to that? Like, do you notice yourself doing things like that? And what are your beliefs around as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, whatever roles you have in your life, as a coworker, as a daughter, what are your beliefs around how you're supposed to show up?
Yes, I think that's great. And I think oftentimes when we believe we must push, a lot of times that means that we at some level don't feel unconditional love. Whether
Yeah,
it's unconditional love with ourselves or with whoever we think we need to show up for. Um, if if I'm not like if I have to perform to be lovable, if I have to perform to be worthy or good enough, that's a lot of pressure to live in your entire life.
yeah,
It's exhausting. And
yeah,
most of us in one aspect of life or another, or one season of life or another, have experienced that. Whether it was in a relationship, in a job, in a, you know, even in a volunteer position. I mean, there's a myriad of ways it can show up where we just don't feel worthy. And, if we are in that, if we're in a place of feeling peaceful and comfortable with who we are as people, and
Mm,
we unconditionally love ourselves, then we're going to just feel comfortable pausing and saying, "Okay, well, wait, maybe the best version of me can't show up today, and that's okay." I
yeah.
mean, when I come in, so I teach once a week with some seniors in high school, and there have been times I've shown up very weak or ill or whatever, and I'll tell you, sometimes those are the best days because I come in real. And
Yeah.
they know that, wow, Miss Libby's having a rough day and she loves us enough to show up. And, I used to think that I kind of had to like show up perfect all the time and have it all together and, and like kind of have my guard up all the time. And what I realized was that was a really like I was depriving myself of being in true relationship, but I was also depriving others of like getting to know who I am. And,
Hmm.
and this will show up in a lot of different ways. The other day, my husband and I were having a conversation, and it was an area where, when we were younger, it was kind of a prickly area for us. And I just, I could sense like the walls coming up, and I just was like, I gotta be honest, I feel like the shields are up. I feel like I'm on red alert here, and there's really nothing going on, but I don't feel like I'm going to be unconditionally loved no matter what answer I give. I know
Mm,
that's not accurate, but that's where I feel right now. And I need to be honest with you about that. And he was like, "Oh, wow. Well, it doesn't matter what you say." But I mean, that was a me thing, not a him thing. But
hmm.
so often we don't like it's so terrifying to think about showing up authentically everywhere we go.
Yeah.
But those are the areas we probably need to show up most authentically.
Yeah. Desiree, thank you for commenting, Desiree. We love when we have interactions and things that we can respond to because it just makes it all the more interesting. So she put on here that, so I guess this was in response to when I said, where does that show up for you? So she's responding that you're responsible for being there for everyone. That's one of the roles or the beliefs that you have. And then that women are responsible if something goes wrong. We carry the weight of responsibility. So it's really powerful to like having written that out and seeing, oh, that's a belief that I have. Maybe it comes from your culture. Maybe it comes from family. Maybe it's something that you took on yourself or a little bit of all of those. But it's not the truth. It's just a belief is a really good place to start to stand in. Like, is that even true? And so I just wanted to acknowledge those comments. Thanks, Desiree. And what Libby was saying too, one more thing that I want to stack on top of that, Libby, is when we show up authentically, we also give other people the permission to do the same. So it wasn't just that you were giving them the opportunity to know you, who you are, but you're actually letting them know. So if you're teaching high school seniors, and they are creating their identity in the world and their beliefs about themselves, and they actually get the permission to not have to be perfect all the time. What a gift that is. They won't
Mhm.
have to wait until they're 60 like I did, right? Or 50. But yeah, giving people permission. I had a conversation similar to that around grief. For those of you who might be watching who don't know, my daughter passed away 5 years ago. And I was talking with someone after that who I think was her mom that passed. But we were just talking about grief, and she was like, I have to hold it together for my dad. I have to hold it together for my siblings. I know she has a brother. Maybe that's it. Um, and my own kids, but I'm so upset. And I said, what if you didn't have to hold it together? What if you allowing the grief to flow, because that is the healthier thing to do, is to feel the emotions, not try to be like, no, I'm fine, when our heart is broken inside. I think we're supposed to be broken inside when someone close to us dies. We're just, I want to honor that. So when you do that, you actually give the other people around you the permission to feel the same grief. Otherwise they're looking at you going, well, if she's strong, I guess I'm supposed to be strong too. So it's the same thing in this scenario, right? It's all of that. And the second spring program that we are creating, that we, you know, is the background of this whole conversation, is when you get to the point in life where you can actually catch your breath and you're not taking care of everybody, you can look and see What are those beliefs, like Desiree put in the comments here, that I'm responsible for everything, that the weight of it all is on me, that there's only one speed, that you can actually look and see, and there's a lot less at stake because you're not taking care of little children and all of that. So you can just look and see what has been working for you. What do you need to let go of that really isn't true? What do you want to define you? What beliefs do you want to hold on to from this point going forward about who you are and how you operate in life and how you show up in your relationships? Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's so true. And I think if we can just recognize that the great news in this particular area is that we get the opportunity to just pause and reflect. What, why did, if we choose to take it, by the way, because we
Mm,
can just keep going at the same speed until day of death or until our bodies break down and we just have to stop. Um, if we can instead just say, okay, wait a second, like the thing back with my husband, there was no problem. It was an old belief that was kind of like emotion that was kind of hanging out from like way back when. And I was like, wait a second, that's not even valid. Like
mhm.
it's not even true. But yet like something in me is going, yeah, no, no, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be concerned. I should, I should put a wall up. Well, that's okay. Is that still serving me? Is that the kind of relationship I want to have? Or do I
Right,
want to be able to talk about anything? And if I
right.
wanna be able to talk about anything, then I need to even acknowledge, "Hey, look, this feels uncomfortable to me. I know you see it all over my face. I'm just being honest. This has nothing to do with you. I'm having a moment." And, my dad was in hospice. I was struggling a lot with grief, and there were times that I would just be crying, and my kids had never really seen that side of me, and I was just like, "You know what? This is just really hard." And I don't even know how I feel. I just feel sad and I can't really put words around it, but it's just this is well, I mean, and then there's unexpected things in life. We don't anticipate maybe something's going to happen or go on. And so just recognizing that we can at any moment, no matter how we're feeling, just pause and say, "Okay, is this how I want to proceed? Do I need to go feel this? Is this an old story that no longer applies?
Mm,
Do I want to make new meaning to this? Like how like sometimes I just don't think we take enough time. Our culture is so instantaneous and so pushy with go 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 that how many of us really just take the time and go, "Okay, wait, I'm on autopilot here.
mm,
Let's pause for a second. Is this really the road I want to go on? Is this serving me? Is this who I am? Is this who I want to be? Is this who I want to teach the people coming behind me to be like?"
yeah,
And we don't take enough time often to just stop and go, "Okay, wait a second. Why? Why whatever it is, just why? Just ask why.
yeah,
Why? Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this way? Why do I behave in this pattern?" We don't reflect often enough in our culture.
yeah. And that's called, and we'll maybe wrap this up with this thought. I'd like everybody to sort of think about what that means for you. But what I just thought of when Libby said that is presence, having presence, presence of mind in the moment, presence of consciousness. When you're so driven and you're so doing everything for everybody, then life is just doing things and you've lost your presence. But who you are actually is presence. Our natural state is to be in the present moment. All of the worry about getting things done and the pushing forward and the getting to the point where we feel exhausted and because we're doing, that's where we've lost our presence. That's when we are on automatic. When you return to your true self, you bring yourself back into the present moment, and then you create your presence and you share that presence and the consciousness of who you are with the people around you. And that to me is living life.
Agreed.
The other stuff is just, I don't know what it is. It's
Well,
part of what we have to
it's
do, but
just being the drone, right? I mean, there are things we all just have to do.
yeah,
However, it doesn't mean we can't always come back to that presence and that present.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we as humans tend to wander a lot, right? We need to be always pulling ourselves back in. And the beautiful gift is when we can do that for ourselves and others, because there are very few people in this world right now who are really present.
Right.
A lot of people just, zoned out and medicated and overwhelmed and stressed out and on their devices. And, just, I mean, there are just not a lot of people who are looking you in the eye and saying, you matter.
Yeah.
We've lost some of that in our culture. And we can be those people. And the great news is we can be those people at any moment. We can make a different choice. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be anything radical. It's just a habit of deciding who we want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just also want to point out too, Linda, that if this has resonated with anyone, I know we've wandered a little bit in our topic today, but it's been really good to just chat about these things because they're just what are on our hearts right now. So you got to get it inside Linda's and my conversations a little bit. But if this has resonated with you at all, and you say, "Wow, I'd like to be more present," or "Wow, I really don't know how to handle my stress. Well, I don't know how to." Deal with the triggers in my life or the overwhelm or the stress that I'm facing, we'd love to chat with you. I'm going to have Linda put in the link, if she hasn't yet, a little calendar link for us to be able to just chat with you about the different things, the different programs that Linda offers around overwhelm, around stress, around burnout. She does such phenomenal work. If you need to, just take a look at her Trustpilot. She has so many really beautiful testimonials on there, and I love
Yeah.
seeing. I love seeing the lives that transform just by learning. Okay, it's we've talked about the what today and the why, but a lot of people like, okay, great, but how? How would I actually do that? How, like, I need someone to walk alongside me and show me how. Because we're not taught this in our culture. This is
Mm,
not normal in our culture anymore. Maybe a few hundred years ago it was, but it's not anymore.
correct. Yep.
So we need guidance sometimes.
Yeah. So as Libby said, and it's a free conversation. You
Yeah.
don't, you can just find a spot that works for you on the calendar and just come and really talk about what's there for you, what would make the biggest difference, what is the work that we do and how is that a fit? And if it's not, then it's not, and we'll point you in a better direction. But if it is, there's different options, there's different ways. We've definitely created over the last couple of years some varying options so that people can really do what feels right for them. So we would love to have that conversation. Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, everybody have a great night. And I'm sure we'll see you probably again later this week or
Yeah.
soon.
Stay warm, everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Good night.
Good night.